We got some vaporub because I have a stuffy nose. Anyway, welcome. So, if you're here, it's because you want to talk about or hear why your triggers are actually your best friend. And you might be like, what do you mean, Oriana? Like, my triggers are my worst enemy. What could you possibly mean by that? I have to do my very best to live the most untriggered life possible in order to protect my peace, because my peace is the utmost important thing in the world. And how am I going to do this if this and this and this and this and this thing triggers me? I can't do this, blah, blah, blah. You know what I mean? And I'm going to break it to you. Actually, being triggered is a blessing. And not because it's not good that you have the triggers, obviously, but it's a blessing that you're aware of them enough to click on this video, okay? And the reason that your trigger is a blessing is because every time that you get triggered is an opportunity to never be triggered again. Now, with how am I gonna do that? You can't just do that. You can't just decide that your trigger is gone and then it's gonna be gone. And you know what, babe? In a way, you're right. I feel like a lot of mindset coaches nowadays, they're just like, well, I'm just gonna pretend like it's not happening, and then it's not happening. And then you're like, okay, yeah, I'm gonna do that. And then you go and you try to do that, and actually you realize that you're just living in denial and you're living a fake life. Or you're living a fake positive life, and people can pick up on it because you're actually repressing a lot of your anger and you're pretending to be happy. You're doing a lot of like this angry yoga teacher thing that people do where they're just like, everything is fine. You know, that's not what I'm saying. But every time you get triggered, every time is an opportunity to react differently. And it's a very difficult thing to do because your triggers are the way that your nervous system is hardwired. The way that your brain is hardwired is to react a certain way to this certain thing because it's kept you safe in the past. You react this way to that one thing because it's kept you safe in the past, because this reaction has protected you in a way. But now you're realizing what once protected you is now doing more harm than good, and you want to change it, and that's why you're here. So the reason a lot of people who have intense triggers decide to protect their peace or whatever is because that's the easier route. It's easier to curate a life around yourself where you're untriggered, where nothing can touch you, and if it does touch you, you just eliminate it from your life and you move on, and you move on to something else that doesn't trigger you. You know what I mean? And that's one way to do it, but the thing is about that is that you haven't grown. All you're doing is avoiding the problem. All you're doing is pretending that it doesn't exist. And the thing about life is that you never know what's going to happen. You never know what's going to happen. So if you don't take this opportunity right now to start to work on how you handle things, when something very serious happens that is going to trigger you 10 times worse than whatever this thing is, you're not going to be able to have the capacity to handle it, and you might end up in a fucking psych ward or some shit like that. Or even if you don't, you might end up losing a really important person in your life. You know what I mean? Like, you might not know how to handle things. It's not going to be good. You know, the more you grow and the more intention you put into growing and learning how to handle things, big things, bad things, instead of just avoiding them and pretending that they don't exist, like these Delulu girls and boys nowadays, where they're like, this isn't real, and instead of being like, okay, this is real, but why am I letting it make me feel this way? This is happening. It's happening, and I feel this way, and what can I do to not necessarily make this feeling go away, but transform this feeling into something that helps me? You know what I mean? Because it's not about judging the way you feel. And I think that's number one, is that when you're triggered, you have to stop judging yourself for being triggered, because this happens to me a lot. Like, I've done so much of the work that sometimes when I'm still triggered, I'm like, fuck, like, are you fucking kidding me, Oriana? This still bothers you? And it's like, yes, because it's hardwired in my nervous system, but the difference is that it does not affect me in the same way anymore at all, bro. Everything has changed ever since I started changing the way that I view my triggers. And it's almost kind of exciting now that I get triggered, because it's like, oh my god, this is an opportunity. This is an opportunity for me to be better, for me to be closer to the version of myself that I actually want to be, rather than this version that I've been my life and has been keeping me from living up to my highest potential. So it's all about reframing the way that you view your triggers. It's about having awareness of the trigger without judging the trigger. This is awareness without judgment. This is a very big in the actor world. It has a lot to do with, usually it has a lot to do with your character work and the way that you approach your character, so that you don't judge the character that you're doing it on stage. Because the second that you start to judge a character and their actions, and you think, this person is a bad person, and this person is evil, and this person is this thing, you start to label them, the further away you are from ever being able to embody that character on stage. So this is called awareness without judgment. And I learned this at Stella Adler, shout out Stella Adler, by doing theater. And the thing is that you understand so much about yourself and your own humanity by being an actor, because the job is understanding other people. It's understanding other people and understanding yourself enough to be able to pretend that you're that person. And in order to do that, you have to believe that the reasons somebody does something are reasonable enough to justify their reactions to things, if that makes sense. That's not to say that you delete all of your morality and all of your values or anything like that. No. But you're aware of it. So you acknowledge, okay, this person cheated on this other person, right? Now, before I ever tried to be an actor, I viewed cheaters as the scum of the earth, right? Which, totally reasonable, because if you've ever been cheated on, oh my god, murder. Fucking kill ya, okay? That shit is capable of murdering you, okay? That getting cheated on has got to be one of the worst pains anybody can ever live through. It's so painful, right? So I viewed people who cheat on other people as basically on the same plane as a murderer, right? And I viewed them like that for a long time, which made relationships with other people in my life so much harder. Whatever, that's not the point of it. Whatever, right? But then I had to play a character that cheated on her husband, and I was like, I can't. Like, I can't. I literally had a panic attack over this, because I was like, I can't even pretend to be that person. I would never do that. And then it's like, wait, okay, but life isn't about you all the fucking time, okay? This story is important to tell, and that character still has its own validity, just because it helps other people understand their own lives. And so if you're going to be an actor, you have to be brave enough to understand the person that is kind of similar to somebody that destroyed you, right? So I had to learn how to be aware of that person's life, that person's reasons, that person's justifications for doing what they did, and understand how that manifested into their reality, and why they would do what they would do, without putting a judgment on it. And it was really hard. Because usually when you approach art or anything like that, you go, well, I don't like this, I don't like this, I don't like this, I don't like this, or I like that, and I like that, and that's good and that's bad, right? There's no nuance to it. And Not that I'm a huge fan of everything having nuance all the time, but humans are pretty nuanced, I guess. Ugh, such an annoying word, I know. Whatever. So the point is, what if you were to create this trigger that you have into a little person, right? And you try to understand it without judging it. If you and your trigger say, this bitch is back again. She wants something. And it's kind of like a little crying child, like a little child throwing a temper tantrum, And instead of yelling at it and be like, go away, or coddling it and letting it get away with everything, you learn how to manage it. You learn how to treat this little tantrum child inside of you properly enough so that you can be the person to handle it and not project it into your outside world, and not have your outside world be affected so much by this limiting creature that lives inside of you, right? And this is a game changer, because just because you're feeling something doesn't mean that it has to change or destroy or keep affecting you. Because every time it comes up is your opportunity to practice how to manage it. I don't know why it was so hard for me to put out into words. It's 7 a.m., guys. Okay, so I think that's it. I hope that this reframing of the word trigger and its monstrosity and how terrifying it is helps you. If you just imagine it as like a little tantrum kid that lives inside of you, and you can re-guide it. You can say, hey, it's actually this way, go that way, go over there, baby girl. She goes, no, I don't want to go over, I don't want to go over there. And you go, it's okay, there's like popsicles over there, and then if you just like drink some water and you take a hot shower, and you can come back to this, we can come back to this, or we can go exercise, we can go talk to our friends, we can have a hug before we deal with the situation. We have to learn how to deal with our little baby creature, tantrum creature, before we try to take action on any situation, Yeah. Because why is it somebody else's responsibility to deal with your tantrum creature? Unless they're your parent, why is it somebody else's responsibility to deal with your tantrum creature? It's yours. You're your own mom or dad or parent. Yeah. Gay rights. LGBTQIA. Okay, does that make sense? I hope that makes sense. And if not, you can always DM me, text me, let me know what didn't make sense, how I can, we can have a conversation about it, and what you think. If you disagree with me, that's fine. I love disagreements. I love arguing with people with love. And yeah, okay, bye. Have a good day.